We are roughly halfway through Daredevil Reborn, but how does it stack up? This is I Have No Title and I Must Podcast. We're your hosts, Tyler.
And Chris.
And before we begin, not when you're hearing this, but as of right now of recording, this is our exact 2-year anniversary of the first posting of the podcast. I think that deserves a like and subscribe, so show us some love. And before we get into the rest of this, I think at least for the first half of this episode, since this is an ongoing series right now, we're going to avoid spoilers, maybe get into it at the end, but if we do, we'll give you a heads up so you can dip out if you choose to. Daredevil Reborn. So far, I think this has been Disney Plus's highest viewed launch, if I heard that correctly.
It'd be surprising if it wasn't.
And I think right now it's sitting at an 8.7 on IMDb.
Is it that high?
Yeah. And I think even compared to Netflix's, it beats it out from a 8.7 with the other one being an 8.6. So not even a complete first season and it's already showing out that way.
Most of what people are saying and talking about is the obvious comparison to the original show, which is weird that people, I think, have ranked it so high. Not to say that I don't. I am really enjoying this. You can't capture lightning in a bottle twice, especially being this separate from it. And it's just like with the original Star Wars, when people are like, you know, the original Star Wars is golden, nothing can touch that, until you go back and watch it and you're like, it had its flaws too. It's just when compared to the prequels, it's like far and away amazing. And by the way, they're still really good. It's just when you think about it, it's like teddy bears beat the Empire. And then like Harrison Ford's critique was like, we end with the teddy bear picnic. And like, is that really what we wanted to do? Sure thing. But with this, there's no way. It's a different company. It's new everything, really, except for some of the actors. Yeah. And nobody got recast.
Which I was really happy about. Yeah. I think Charlie Cox, fantastic. Best Daredevil so far. I was going to say sorry if I offend any of the Ben Affleck fans, but I don't care.
I don't know. Are there any?
I don't know.
Of that specific? I mean, I could see people saying, like, I enjoyed that movie. However, until I saw, I mean, even the original Daredevil, not the show, not that movie, was like the best thing that Marvel was putting out, and Marvel wasn't putting it out. It was Netflix, and it was like the opposite of Sony, whereas like all Sony could do is trip over its shoelaces to put out like Craven and Venom movies, and Morbius, and then Netflix is over here making Daredevil, which, yes, again, what I was getting to is it's not perfect. There's stuff in the second season that's dumb. Having said that, as a whole, the 3-season arc of everything, amazing. I think still the best thing.
Netflix's Daredevil, that second episode, that hallway fight, that segment alone, I think already puts it above most other things.
Yeah, easily. And like really every single one of those oneer fights, the one, I think part of it's the oneer, and then it's like boss battle, and then it starts having like camera angles where I think the Punishers, I think it's the second season where the Punisher shoots down at the biker gang or something, or like blows up some stuff, and then Matt has to, he's got Matt tied up in the chain, and then Matt has to use the gun. He's also duct taped a gun to his hand, so he chooses to shoot the chain, and he uses the chain and the gun as a weapon, and he's beating ass and like waving that chain around like a whip and like just taking out lights. It's like when he puts that helmet on, and I know some of it is the stuntman, but it's like it's not even Charlie Cox. It's like he just becomes Daredevil, and it helps that like the mask is obscuring his face. But like when Tom Holland has a full, like you can't see 1 inch of his skin, it's still Tom Holland's Peter Parker. He's got an American accent, but he's still Peter Parker, and he's still Tom Holland. When Charlie Cox puts on that Daredevil mask, he's full on a different person. Yeah. He's not even Matt Murdock anymore. It's Daredevil. And we never even refer to him as Daredevil, which is still a thing. All right. I like to do this, and that's get my biggest critique out of the way. And it's tempered with something that I would have really wanted, because Ben Urich, the reporter from the original Netflix series, was one of my favorite characters. And I think we should also say, spoilers for the original Netflix series. There's going to be spoilers for that.
It's been 10 years. If you've not seen it,
yeah,
you've had time.
If you're watching this to get our first reaction of like to see if you should for sure check out this one because you love the original one. We're going to be talking about the original one a bit, like unabashedly. I love Ben Urich. I love that actor who played him. I don't know if I'm sure he's a big character actor that's been in a million things, but I didn't really know him. But I love the interplay with him and really everybody. He takes Karen under his wing and he's like training her to become a reporter, and like how he stands up to Fisk, which ultimately gets him killed, and like all of his struggles. He's like the most human character there. I mean, everybody is, but he was maybe the most sympathetic and like real person. So if they're not doing a reboot, and this is a direct continuation, which is what Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio pushed for, and what they ultimately got, we get his niece, BB something, and she's doing like, so in the first, I'm assuming this is going to be something that runs maybe at least through the first half of the series, if not more so. It's like this like a YouTube vlog or something. I don't know what it's actually on because they don't really show it, but it's like, it's very jarring, and it's these it's like a news report, like a reporter on the street, and you never see the reporter, but it's got the little BB something as her logo. And she's actually the niece of Ben Urich, we find out. And she is hot on the trail of Fisk and gets an interview with him and is somehow friends with this guy who's in his inner circle. So I love that they have a connection to Ben Urich and they haven't forgotten about him and they wanted something in there. It does feel a little shoehorned in. I'm not going to say it's not. That's okay. It's just the way that they have these interspersed interviews with people on the street about like Daredevil, Vigilantes, Fisk, a lot of issues at large. I don't mind that. It's just, it is a bit weird that's not that it's in there. It's the most modern Marvel feeling thing about it. I have heard other people say this doesn't feel like Netflix, but it doesn't feel like the MCU, at least not right now.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my things. It feels right now disconnected.
Yeah, kind of from everything, because it's something kind of fresh. It's somewhere in the middle. It's not like goofy like Thor 4 was, where it's like set in the real world, except this new world that is post-blip. And there's no mention of the blip in this. That's something. There is a mention of a Skrull. Like, somebody asks, could something have been a Skrull? And this is maybe my favorite line of the whole thing, and this is going to be, like, up against the Punisher and Matt's conversation. Matt briefly pauses, and Charlie Cox masterfully times this out perfectly to say, nope. Kind of signaling a lot of things. Yes, the Skrulls exist. We are still in that universe where Skrulls do exist. They're out there, and this is a thing that happens, but not in this show. We watched that other show, and people weren't happy with it, so this is a better show. It for sure is. The thing with the intricate bits of the news reporting are really like the only thing that I feel like has kind of let it down. It opens with a fight scene that is... I love the fight scene, but there's a little bit where Matt swings around a little bit. And this is like the very beginning of the show. I feel like this isn't really a spoiler because it's the first like couple minutes of the show. Yeah. So just so you know, you're going to get some action right off the bat. And if we haven't convinced you yet to watch this, do watch it. I think, have you enjoyed it? What are we up to? Episode 4?
Well, as of recording, it'll be 4. By the time this goes out, we'll probably be at the halfway point.
Okay. Yeah, because another episode comes out tonight. Yeah. There's a little CGI-ness to him jumping around.
Yeah, that's probably going to be my biggest critique. Because going into this, I was wondering how Disney is going to handle the violence. And we don't get as many, at least so far. We've not gotten
They're
as
saving
many
that.
Fight scenes as we had with the Netflix. But the intensity was there. But it was a little CG heavy. Which, I mean, we're always going to critique that. That's a very personal thing with us. But
yeah, and that's something they really avoided with, and I think it can be done well. It just all of a sudden made me think of the Ben Affleck Daredevil, because that was like, unless he was standing still, I'm gonna...
Well, again, going back to the Netflix, that I mentioned the hallway fight scene in the second episode. I was left wondering how they pulled that off. There's no question how they pulled this off with the new one. It's CG.
Yeah.
The other one, just great camera work and choreography, and it
Just over and over and over and over and over again. I assumed in the third season of the original show, there's a huge oneer. They keep trying to one-up themselves with the oneers that became their trademark. Then he's like in a prison, I think. He went to go see somebody. It's been a while, so it's not fresh in my mind. He's actually pretending to be sighted. He's pretending he's got somebody else's like ID or something. He gets hit. I think Fisk hits him or something, and then like a doctor wants to look at him, and he's like looking at his eyes and can tell that he's blind. So Matt has to get out of here, and they begin this like long, arduous like fight scene journey to getting out of the prison. And there's a few places where they easily could have hidden a camera cut, where something passes by the camera really quickly, or the camera has to like go by a wall or something. And I made a comment somewhere that was like, even with the hidden camera cuts, this is amazing. And somebody corrected me to say like, no, this was legit. Like they really did. Now I don't know. I haven't seen behind the scenes footage on that one, if it was really all the way. This one, in the first few minutes of Daredevil, I think was added from the original scripts. I don't think it was present. Just from the rumors I've heard. I've not seen a script, but I've heard a lot of things that they did reshoots. They did the original iteration of this was meant to be not connected to the original Netflix series, and more courtroom drama stuff, like solid courtroom drama until like maybe the middle of the season. And that's when Kevin Feige got rid of all the writers and asked Charlie and Vincent D'Onofrio, like, what should we do? And they said, give the fans what they want.
Yeah, I think that was the exact right call with that, because I had to actually go look to see if this was the same writers, because I'm like, you can tell it's got that Disney flair a little bit. The way Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are picking up, this feels like it could be some of the same writers. It wasn't. Like, the only crossover was like a technicality writer, and that's because they credited, I forget the name, it's lost to me, but the guy that was actually writing the Daredevil comic books that they're taking some of these storyline inspirations from. He's the only crossover with directors or writers.
So a whole new crew. There's no way it's going to be exactly the same.
Yeah.
And just even given that. And it's not like we're comparing Next Generation to Picard. It's not that long ago. And there's a lot of things connecting it that are still there. And they've worked really hard to maintain that. I will say, I watched this interview with Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio. I think it was from, I want to say GQ. And they're watching bits of scenes from the original show. And then I think it was from like the first episode of this one. Of course, Vincent D'Onofrio just gets his ass beat a lot, by Daredevil whenever they're in the same room. He gets, some hits in, but he's the villain. So he's there to be an imposing menace and then also lose ultimately. And even through those, like forcing him to watch some of those scenes where he falls flat on his face, bloody and stuff, he was saying like, this is just amazing to watch Charlie Cox there. There's so much love from him, for each other, really. But like, it was nice to see the respect from Vincent D'Onofrio. He was talking about one of the first scenes they did was this scene where they're talking. I think it's like the first scene that they encounter each other, and it's on like a walkie-talkie. And Kingpin is nowhere near. He's not in the room. I don't think he's in the building, even. If he was, I think he's gone. And Matt is just on the walkie-talkie after he's vanquished the villains. And Vincent D'Onofrio was saying he was actually, when they shot it, he was there. And he could see Charlie Cox talking on the walkie-talkie, but Charlie could not see him. And he had no idea, really, he had never worked with him, and he hadn't really seen his work. And he's like, I didn't know if this guy's a good actor or not, really. I just knew he had got the role. And he was like, he nailed this thing the way, every time we did it. And it blew him away. Two other things from that interview. In one of the Punisher episodes, when he has to carry the Punisher out, and I think he carries him to like a graveyard or somewhere and like lays him down, and then John Bernthal gives this really impassioned speech to him, or monologue rather. A lot of people assumed that like Charlie Cox got emotional during it and actually began to cry, because you can see it And this was pointed out to him later. And he talked to John Bernthal about it. And he was like, this guy's like getting emotional during my speech. Like he's kind of chewing the scenery a bit. And he was like, I don't remember crying during one of those scenes. And he goes back and watches it and was like, I had to carry him in my suit. And it was hot, so he was like sweating so much underneath the mask that like the sweat is beating down and like falling from under the mask, and you can't tell where it's coming from, and it just makes it look like he's crying. So everyone's always assumed he got emotional and was crying during that scene, but it's just sweat. And the last thing was that he was saying technically, even with like the oner fights that he would have to train for and do over and over and over again, even with the stunt people, the scene in the first 10 minutes of the new show with Bullseye, where he's throwing things and they're hitting him, that's all CGI too. So he is reacting to things that are not even touching him, that he has to not only learn the choreography, the dance with the other actor, but he also has to be reacting to things hitting him physically and puncturing his skin that aren't even really there also, and remembering all those little beats, and was saying that was technically one of the more difficult things that he had done. But because we're dealing with people and like near superhuman ability, you know, these are things that only Bullseye can do, or somebody like Taskmaster or something, that they can do this with such precision. He's like, you know, we're using CGI to help tell the story.
I'd say that would be hard acting wise. So I know Ian McKellen was talking about the difference of working on The Hobbit, where they used a lot more green screen, and him just feeling sad because there's like nothing there to interact with.
Yeah.
So I could see that being harder. But we've mentioned our big cons with it. Now, I think let's get on to what does make it great.
Yeah.
First off, actors coming back. If we've not said it, Vincent D'Onofrio as the Kingpin. Tell me a better actor.
There isn't one. And if you think that there's not, like, and you don't know who Vincent D'Onofrio is, look up any interview with him, because that's not him. Like, he's created this version of Kingpin that's so iconic. Tell me I'm wrong. In the new Superman show that just ended a few months back, their version of Lex Luthor was completely, I think, inspired by Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin. Easily. It's not the smooth talking Gene Hackman, like conniving, like kind of billionaire playboy. It's this guy who's hard as a rock. And there you go. He created something iconic with this. Not to say like Kingpin didn't exist, but he took it to a different level.
Yeah. And another thing I liked from this, aside from the actors, is it's a good shift for Marvel. Like how Guardians made it so that, you know, it's like, hey, we can laugh and have fun at these movies. Daredevil's taking it back the opposite way. It's like, hey, they don't all have to be jokes and good times.
Yeah.
Sometimes you've got shit going on in the world that needs to be addressed, and I feel like they're doing that.
I think it reached a peak with the good peak with Thor 3, in that like it was like kind of like a buddy cop movie, you know, like these two guys, one's kind of more funny, and well, they're both trying to be like funny, and it's this wild romp that was funny, and it had really good music. And the thing is it was trying to be funny, and it was funny. And this is always the point that I go to. Then they do Thor 4, which sucked. Not the worst movie of all time, but it was trying to
It was tonally imbalanced.
Yeah, like they were taking like a cancer story and trying to make a comedy out of it. And it's like, this isn't a Seth Rogen movie. And if it were, there would have been like a middle section that was like really legit sad that makes you feel it in your gut. And they never did that. And it just did not hit on any level. It was supposed to be like this funny tragedy, and it neither felt emotional for me nor funny at the same time. That's not to say Taika Waititi isn't capable of great things. He is. He did that with Jojo Rabbit. Amazing. And it had both. It was like funny through the whole thing, and like gut-wrenching through the whole thing, because it's set during the Holocaust, the like kind of middle portion to the end of the Holocaust. And And he could have done that with Thor 4. I think it's like the one that I point to the most that I think was the biggest failure and a sign of that, like, Marvel had kind of lost its way. There's been several other misses, several other hits. I think I recently rewatched Moon Knight. I think not only does it stand up, I liked it better. I hadn't rewatched any of it since it first came out. I liked it better now than I remember liking it then.
Do you think we're going to see a proper Defenders pop up in the MCU?
Oh, we could, and we could also see that version of Fantastic Four that was, for like a few issues in the 90s that was like Ghost Rider, Hulk, Wolverine, and who was the fourth one? Do you not?
No, I don't remember this. No.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
It was like, I don't even know how many issues it was. It might have been like, this isn't a what if. It had its own card in the Marvel, like, I think it was like the Series 1 cards. But yes, the Defenders, so everybody wants to ask Kristen Ritter, are you coming back? And all the other actors, like Will Poulter, like, is he coming back for Adam Warlock? And they're all like, I would love to do that. And they're trying to get him to up and say like, oh bro, did you find out? Do you know? Yeah, I'm gonna be fighting Iron Man in Secret Wars. And they're not gonna do that.
I think Christian Ritter with the Jessica Jones was another standout from the Netflix, at least that first season.
Yeah, I am sad to report I never got around to watching the second season, and I'd heard like mixed bag review things.
To get off topic with Daredevil, I will say second season of Jessica Jones wasn't as good.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to figure out, was that because the second season just wasn't as good, or was it because we didn't have as much David Tennant?
He was a huge part of why that was amazing. And there's like this kind of sidetracks with a secondary villain, like I think halfway or 3/4 the way in, which was actually like, some people might think a character made up for the show, but it wasn't. It was actually not even that deep a cut. And I can't remember his name, like whatever the guy was, like soldier guy, kind of super soldiery and whatever. And then the other woman was like Hellcat, and she's just a character there through the whole first season, and like that's a Marvel superhero that's just there that they were waiting to put her in.
Yeah, it's another thing. I wouldn't mind seeing Rosario Dawson pop back up.
Oh, Rosario Dawson is one of my favorite actresses, and that would be amazing. And
yeah, I was going to ask if Spider-Man was.
It was Spider-Man, yeah. So Wolverine, Ghost Rider, Hulk, and Spider-Man. I think at least in Secret Wars, there needs to be a shot of them standing together.
Yeah.
So that's a little Easter egg to that was a version of the Fantastic Four for a few minutes. I keep hearing rumors they're going to bring back the Defenders. They keep, again, it's just rumors. I think they could at least, again, something like a Secret Wars where they're standing together. Yeah. Or like fighting in the same area.
That could be the good equivalent to the Avengers for the Disney Plus section of stuff.
Yeah, and like if they don't hop upon like getting the young Avengers out there, they're just going to be regular Avengers or people in their late 20s playing teenagers, like always ends up happening anyway. But some of these people are still like, which, let them stay out there and get their acting chops up.
Yeah,
like they'll just be better actors later. I hope. I keep hoping that for Nick Cage. Boom! I got him, got him, boys. And he doesn't even turn down roles. Like he'd be acting left and right. You'd think he'd get good at some point. That's for you, Ben. Yeah, my friend Ben, Becky's fiance, huge Nick Cage fan. What's wrong with that guy? Anywho, hey, they better bring it. I mean, he's going to be in Spider-Man Noir. I am looking forward to that. He does great voice acting. He's also going to be doing acting at the same time. So, and by the way, I can't remember if I mentioned this during any of our Lynch episodes. I am at odds with, I love David Lynch so much. And he has said that Nick Cage is like the most amazing actor. I can't remember the quote. I'll have to look it up. But Nick Cage is like this jazz actor, like he just can fit into anything or something, and like just does this amazing acting. And I'm like,
it's like we gotta remember the acting between the acting. It's what Cage doesn't act.
Yes. So
also a little shoehorn, Nick Cage, his stage name is from Marvel, one of the Defenders, Power Man. Yeah,
that's where he took the Cage from.
Yeah, Luke Cage.
Huge comic book fan. I don't hate Nick Cage, and I do think that he has actually done good on some things, but like done good acting. I think he's capable of it.
His indie work's been a lot better as of late.
Yeah, and like he can do extreme stuff. There's just at times like what you doing? Also, I still want to see what Lynch saw. I don't see it. I'm waiting to see it. And by that I mean I haven't seen those things. I'm saying I don't understand what Lynch saw. We could be looking at the same thing.
I mean, that's just on par for Lynch.
It says, yeah. And I mean, there's some things I've gone back and listened to music, like on headphones, and I think this is sublime, like, that I didn't fully appreciate 10, 15, 20 years ago. That, like, even like the second MCR album, hear it on headphones, and it's like, man, that lead guitar player is really, like, earning his keep on some of these songs, and it's kind of lost when you're just listening to it on regular speakers. It's like, he's a lot better than I think people give him credit for, this band in general. It's mostly just like the songs as a whole, but like the technical work is actually really good. And that's something that, I don't know that I would have appreciated then, or at certain points in my life. I'm more focused on other things. So maybe at some point I will understand Nick Cage. Unlike Abed, I hope it doesn't destroy my mind. And I'm not going to throw myself in that deep. Yes, that is a... What is that a reference to? Community, yes. So, back to Daredevil. Yes, I'd love to see The Defenders. I think The Defenders as a show got a lot of flack. I think that it was very well artfully put together. There's like the color palette. Like each hero had its own color palette. So when they would switch back and forth, they would subtly push on this color palette until they broke down all the color palettes in the episodes until they brought them together. And then it was like an integrated, even keel white balance toward the end of the show. I know somebody else had to see that, right? Like, it wasn't just me. Maybe somebody did.
People are too busy criticizing how bad things were with some of the other Netflix adaptations.
That's fair. And I mean, them putting Iron Fist in and giving him such a huge role to play in Defenders, it would have been, and I think each opportunity they got was like, we have to redeem this character, like, for each mistake we make. And it's like, man, like, here's my thing with saying something is out of character for a character to do. You ever, in a recent comedy special, Roy Wood Jr. talks about people murdering people. And it's like, what do they always say in the documentaries, on news, on the radio?
We never suspected they were capable of that.
Right. Like, that's what everybody always says about that person. Now he's making a bigger point about how we need to come together and, like, how well do you know your neighbors, and, like, how sad is it that this could happen to people? Like, you could pull them back from the brink if you just get to know people a little bit more. And my thing is, if you have somebody do something, like, if you know somebody, have you ever seen somebody do something out of character in real life? Yeah, all the time, because we bite our tongues all the time. People lose their temper that are holding back all the time. People do things that are weird all the time. And that's the thing is, like, yes, that's out of character. That's life. Like, coincidental, weird things, coincidences, that we have a term, coincidences. There are two kinds of people. People who say there are no coincidences and believe that there's some order to the universe, and people who say it's only coincidences. They just happen all the time. But if you write a story where something, happens to play out a little too perfectly, like it does in real life all the time, then somebody's like, that's a bit much, isn't it? A little plot armor there, a little, that was a little too perfect, wasn't it? That's the thing. Weird shit like that happens constantly. But if we put it in fiction, well, that was out of character for that person, or that was too much of a coincidence, or, any of these things. Whereas, like, I'm like, are they living on the same planet I am, where weird things like this happen all the time? Like, somebody in the government just texted secret war plans to somebody else, and that's a real thing that happened. Like, it's like we're not living in the West Wing universe anymore, but like Veep or something. Like, this is just a comedy. I think they're just actively trying to put The Onion out of business because, like, you can't write headlines that are fantastical anymore. We'll just do those. Joke's on you. So make Danny Rand good. Like, just make him badass.
Yeah.
And funny, not sad. Like, you didn't have to have everybody be sad. Like, Power Man? Sad, but he's still badass. Jessica Jones, her life's horrific. You've seen what she has to walk in on every day, and she's sarcastic. Then Daredevil, he's Daredevil, we all know. And then Danny Rand's just sad. That doesn't complete the group. Like, he's the funny one, the real funny one, or at least some of the iterations that I have seen. Especially when he's just partnered with Cage. Luke Cage is badass, kind of angry, and Danny Rand is the funny one. That's their dynamic. Let it be that. Let Jessica Jones and Luke Cage have a kid together. Let them be like, and Danny Rand's in on it. Not in on it like that, but like, he's like zany uncle. I'm not saying everything has to be like word for word from the comics, but it doesn't have to be devastating. One little bit that I thought was hilarious in this, that it's like I kept laughing more and more, was like when Fisk is in the room with the kids and they're singing to him. And it was Latveria, right? Then he has to go to another place and they're singing the same song, but in another language, or in like that thick Latverian accent. And it was Latveria, right? Like,
I think it was like the Latvian immigrants.
Yeah. So like, that's a hardcore Doctor Doom Easter egg, and I didn't hear anybody making a big deal. I guess we're all just numb to it, and it's like, yeah, whatever. No, Doctor Doom is coming. He could be up the street. Like, he's got some consulate. I don't know.
I think everyone's just waiting to see how they pull it off with Robert Downey Jr. before they start.
Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be the main Doctor Doom. That's a bait and switch, but it's in such a way that, like, it's not going to feel cheap. This is my opinion. Who knows? But I feel like everybody knows, given how many Kangs we saw the last time we saw Kang, that Robert Downey Jr. is not going to be the main Doctor Doom. There's going to be other Doctor Dooms, and there's going to be our real Doctor Doom. What the Robert Downey Jr. version is going to be, I have no idea. I just know that it's most likely he's going to be a Doom. It might be the first Doom we get introduced to, who knows? Probably. But it's going to be a similar situation with the Kangs, in that there's going to be multiple Dooms, and who is the real Doom? Will it be like Javier Bardem, Christoph Waltz? I don't know. It's got to be a good one, and it's probably one they're trying to keep a secret, and like film a lot of it in green screen and keep that quiet and stuff. Who knows? Do you want to get into spoilers?
One more thing I want to get into before we get into spoilers is what Daredevil is doing, I guess, different. For one, is in place of the fight scenes, they're asking like hard questions. Mm-hmm. And it makes you think. At least it made me think.
Societal questions.
Yeah. It's like, what happens when the system, you want to believe in it so much. You want the system to work. You don't want to resort to like having to go like what Daredevil has done in the past and use the violence. You want the system to work, to defend people and help. But what happens when that system's broken? It's like, what happens when we're to the point where vigilantes have to, or feel like they have to step in to help people out? What happens when it doesn't matter if justice is served in the courts, if it's going to be wiped away? It's like, what happens when the system to rehabilitate people is spending more money to punish those people than the crime they committed? And what happens when the bad guys get the seat of power and then there's nothing you can do about it? Every episode has asked that question to some degree. And I think it's a good stop from all the funny Marvel that we get this serious thing that we all need to think about in real life. Mm-hmm.
The real everyday issues that actually affect,
I think,
at least Americans.
Because I think everybody, wants to believe the system works. And everyone wants to think that it's fine. But, I mean, there's people that fall through the cracks every day, whether intentional or not. Like, there's corrupt people on all sides of things. Good people, too. Don't get me wrong.
But even the good people who are standing up for decency and human rights and things of that ilk get dragged down by money.
Yeah.
They're allowing themselves to be controlled by taking in money.
Well,
and who they get their money from.
And the good people are trying to play by the rules, and the people that are corrupt are not. So obviously they're going to get ahead.
Mm-hmm. And how do you fight that system? How do you fight within a system that allows it so flagrantly? Yeah. And there's been heavy concepts in other, like in Captain America and Winter Soldier, the TV show, but it kind of just boiled down to some of it, at least it felt like it boiled down to still kind of good versus evil. There were, and I feel like they should have leaned into the black issues more. Isaiah Bradley, that storyline, I think that should have been the main storyline. It shouldn't have been a one episode like Easter egg. I think that should have been the overarching theme. If you're going, what's the point of having Captain America be played by a black actor dealing with black issues in America if you're not really going to face it head on, if you're just going to have it be like a side story? And how heavy it makes him feel that he doesn't want that to dominate what he does, then it does, and we should all pay attention to it and be aware, like this is the way things are. So in this, it confronts those things head on and makes that the story, which is always hinted at. Foggy and Murdoch were the pro bono lawyers who took vegetables for payment from people who couldn't afford it, and dealt with people in slums, good people who just are poor or elderly or, disabled or whatever. This has only not lost that, but it's gotten back to it in a major way.
Yeah. For anyone listening that wants to continue this conversation but doesn't want spoilers, I'm going to have to apologize because I think this is where we give our spoiler warning, because something that happens in the show could be a spoiler. Is kind of a key point to what I'm saying next. So last chance to dip out if you don't want spoilers.
Yeah, go watch the show and then come back and finish this. But it's actually really good, and it's not like super heavy. It's very entertaining. It's very engaging, and it's true to the spirit of the original one, even if it is quite different.
All right, you've been warned. But what I was going to say is, continuing on like the conversation of, society failing and all of this, we actually got 3 points of views. We got Matt's, Kingpin's, and then we got Punisher's. Because that one scene where he actually comes in and talks to John Bernthal's Punisher, we get both sides of the system failing. You got Matt, who wants the system to work but sees its shortcomings, sees how it's failing, where you got Frank Castle, who knows the system's broke and is taking the radical approach to fixing it. And then you've got the Kingpin, who is also kind of fighting against his nature but not really, where you got the corruption in a place of power. Mm-hmm. So it's like, where do you go? Yeah, and he, of course, is going to use helping the city at large, in quotations, to help him maintain power to do what he really wants, which is to accumulate more power, wealth, and it's really, I think, mostly just about power. Mm-hmm. It's not even, he's accumulated a great amount of wealth, but it's like, how far can he take this? And I don't understand the mind of a psychotic narcissist. I don't understand what is the end goal, what's the end game of this, but that's what he is. It's not even like about just doing bad things. If he were, he would just, be a serial killer. He's not that. He's accumulating power, but he won't hesitate to either punish or end somebody. I say punish or end somebody because we've seen him take I love that they reference the car door thing from early on. That because I was like, ugh, that was, anybody who forgot about that got like a flashback on that one. We see him in the original show, like take a guy and like smash a car door on his head, like just repeatedly opening and closing it until we see the guy's body, and this was so well filmed. It never felt gory, but it felt brutal. Yeah, it was brutal, and by the end, graphic, because you do see this body fall that obviously does not have a head, because he has just like crushed it, pulverized it to nothing. By the end of this, he's kidnapped the guy who his wife has had an affair with at some point, and just imprisoned him somewhere in like some basement, and then he goes and has dinner in the same room with him with his like gourmet, like, 3 peas lined up with a sliver of carrot or something, and that guy's just screaming at him like, let me out, and it's music to Kingpin's ears. That's what I was gonna say, like how normal people would just listen to classical music while eating. Like, no, Kingpin wants to hear this guy suffer. A true psychotic mind, like just to enjoy that, to inflict damage, and he could just kill him. He could have been dead for probably, I don't know how long that guy's been in there, but he chooses not to. He wants to inflict as much suffering on, maybe even feeding him just enough to keep him alive so that he'll suffer longer, or make him starve slowly. I don't know. I think the main scene that you were referring to was the guy who Matt's trying to get probation for, who stole some fiddle faddle. Yeah. And
the guy wants probation, but he's got a record, and they sit with this. It almost feels inconsequential, but it's kind of the crux of the show.
It's like the price to take him to trial, the price to incarcerate him for even the short amount of time that they're suggesting is far more money than it would be to just increase his like welfare or to just pay for the fiddle faddle.
Yeah, or like he makes mention of that, like the last time he was incarcerated, he lost his Social Security because he missed an appointment. So, and he's like, you know how long it takes to get back on that. This is not falling on deaf ears. Like Matt, there's a reason Matt fights injustice. He's not the Punisher. He's not compelled to just like end. And actually, you know what? There is a strong like correlation there. He fights evil. He can't stand to see injustice because he and Fisk grew up kind of there. There's this dichotomy that they were radicalized young. Matt's dad dies, and he refused to, when he was asked to like take a dive, he refused to and was killed for his trouble. And yeah, he was in with some bad people, and Matt knows that. And I saw on Instagram, did I send it to you? I think he was up against, and it was recent too, because he's got his big beard and his hood and everything with his new look, like more ninja look. And it was just 2 panels from the comic. And I think it was U.S. Agent with a bunch of people, and he was like, Matt was just there, and U.S. Agent was like, stand down, Daredevil. I'm right with God. And Matt says, if you were, he wouldn't have sent the devil. And that's, Matt has gotten away from that. At the beginning of the show, he's left being Daredevil behind, but
fights with it constantly.
Just like the Mafia, every time he thinks he gets out, they keep pulling him back in. And he is a lawyer because he can't stand injustice. That's why he fights. His day life, he fights injustice. His night life, he fights injustice.
That's one thing with this storyline too that I'm really kind of liking. It's like, yeah, we don't get the fight scenes, but we see him fighting his inner demon. Because even in that first episode, he crossed his own line when he threw Bullseye off the roof. It's like he ultimately didn't kill him, but he wanted to. He was trying.
Yeah, if that guy had fallen any other way than what he did, he just happened to fall with his weight dispersed in such a way that it didn't kill him. And that's actually a fairly realistic thing. Like, you can fall from like 4 feet up off some stairs and kill yourself. And then there's documented stories from centuries of people falling like great heights and somehow surviving. So that's people are probably watching that and being like, oh, this is not the comic booky now. And just like, guess what? Gamma radiation doesn't turn you into a Hulk either. So the lesser realistic things have happened. Yeah. That's actually fairly realistic, though unlikely can happen. The more unlikely thing is that Matt did this, but there are storylines in the comics where he accidentally lets somebody die or accidentally does kill somebody, and this was him going too far. Just like every time something happens, he wants to quit.
Yeah, I think that's why his conversation with the Punisher is so impactful, because he's trying to let the system work and fight within the system, but he also knows that he crossed that line, that he like set forth for himself when he was going out as the vigilante.
Yeah, I love this character so much, and I'll always anybody who's listened for a long time will note, like, Matt has essentially 5 senses. He's blind, but he makes up for it with a 5th sense, which is his echolocation sight, which allows him, with his ninja training and his reflexes, his fast reflexes, allows him to detect things before anybody else would, making it, his reaction time seem much faster, almost like a spider sense. Stan Lee even said that his radar is better than Spider-Man's spider sense at one point. I know a lot of people are probably super pissed off at that.
It makes sense, though. Spider-Man's spider sense is reactionary, where Matt's radar sense is always on.
Yeah, he can literally just hear it coming. And he does have a superpower, and I will always argue that it is he always gets up and nothing will keep him down until he's dead. You cannot beat this man into submission. He will always get back up, and he will always continue fighting, because there is always injustice. Whatever fight, if he has not won it, he will get back up. And that is that. So, is Foggy dead?
That was going to be my main thing of talking with spoilers. I mean, not a huge spoiler, since it happens within like the first half of the first episode.
God, even like the first quarter is really soon.
But that's what a lot of people are speculating, because there actually is the storyline from the comics where Karen does something to make it look like Foggy's dead, even to Matt's Echo sense.
And those are arguably two of, I'm not going to say the only two people, but two of the only two people in the world who could pull this off because they know Matt so well.
Yes. So,
and they know all his secrets. He's opened that up to them. So they would be able to theoretically devise a method to do this. In this continuity, in the comic book continuity, there's plenty of people who could do it. So in this continuity, yeah. And there are Easter eggs in the show that reference that storyline.
Yeah. So is this the bait and switch to, like, for people who have read comics? Or is this
just a nod to it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, bait and switch. It's like, oh yeah, that's where they're leading. It's like, no, we're not. We're just giving you something. Dead. Or are they following the comics?
Or is he going to be the new Hobgoblin? No, I'm around. That's just not. It's because people have said Ned from the or whatever his name is. What's his friend's name in it's Spider-Man's friend? And
I think it is Ned.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Watch us both be wrong. It won't be the first, won't be the last. But
no, but you know the guy in the new trilogy.
Yeah.
Okay, he wore the hat. They went to the party and he was like, the hat's not working. Yeah, hat doesn't make you interesting, Ned, or whatever your name is. Anyway, people said he might be Hobgoblin. So I think odds are even that Foggy's the new Hobgoblin. Wouldn't that make for a great crossover? Everybody wants that Spider-Man Daredevil movie team up.
The best crossover is to get Mark Hamill to come play Hobgoblin.
Ooh. I wonder if he'd do it.
I'd say probably.
Yeah.
At least the voice. I mean, he's done it before.
Yeah, I mean, just get somebody else to do all the stunts, and he could just stand on the glider and on a green screen.
Yeah. I mean, if we can get Harrison Ford playing Red Hulk, we can get Mark Hamill playing Hobgoblin.
If only we could get that scene where he transitions from the Hulk back to Harrison Ford. Nope. Too much money? You can't do that? Okay.
To be fair, though, even in the comic books, Ross, once he becomes the Red Hulk, pretty much stays the Red Hulk.
Yeah.
So
for like a long time. Like, is it permanent?
I don't know if his is permanent or not. I can't remember. But I know that's like one of the trade-offs. It's like he stays the Hulk. He doesn't rely on the anger. And he retains a lot of his intelligence.
Yeah.
Normal intelligence. But he never reaches the strength levels of like Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
So
if anybody is listening, I would love for people to vote down in the comments. Foggy actually dead, or is he coming back? Is he going to be the Hobgoblin? You heard it here first, although I did just make that up.
Yeah. I will say, though, to avoid spoilers for anyone that dipped out, if you're going to vote whether he's alive or dead, just comment alive or dead.
Yeah.
We'll know what you're talking about. Everyone else will have to watch to find out.
Yeah, I really hate it when people spoil stuff in a comment section. Please don't do that. This show is still ongoing and it's still only a few episodes in. So some people, I don't understand them, but they wait so they can binge things. If you're the sort of person who's watched it, week to week, then you're not one of those people. But I literally know people who won't watch it unless they can watch it. They wait and watch it in just a few days. I think that's up society's brain, but
watch them announce that Foggy's his exact status in the episode tonight, and we put this out and this looks
it's dumb. Like, he's definitely alive. Well, you won. Now, is he Hobgoblin or not Hobgoblin? You have to write alive, not Hobgoblin, or dead, not and Hobgoblin, or whatever whichever you choose, and really confuse anybody else who's looking down there. So we end with it being revealed that Fisk has that guy, and he's kidnapped him and he's imprisoned him, that his wife had an affair with while Fisk was, I guess, in jail from the events of I've heard that it was maybe while he was injured or left for the Echo show while he was going to deal with that. But I also thought he gets put in prison at the end of the third season of Daredevil. He gets got. So wouldn't it have been then? Who knows? I don't know how long he was in there for that one, and they don't really make a direct reference to that, or when it was he just was gone mysteriously for some amount of time. But there's a lot of references to the first series in general.
I think it is him leaving because
for the Echo thing,
yeah,
and just staying gone.
Because there's a conversation he has with his wife where she said, "You left."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Yeah, I had to figure something out."
I know I sound stupid saying this, where they keep saying, like, you left, but that sounds like, okay, he's the kingpin. He travels around. Like, he couldn't have been gone for that long, just to Oklahoma or wherever the Echo's set.
I think
like,
it's more...
I thought that she was just being hyperbolic, like, you left, like, you made this decision to let Daredevil win. Because he could have. He could have, like, revealed Matt Murdock's thing. He could have fought on, but he decided to kind of submit at the end of that scene with the "I beat you" scene with Daredevil. Of course, by that point, he was also fighting Bullseye, and the police were
I think
almost
it's
there.
more not only just like a physical leaving, but like an emotional leaving. Cause
that could be.
Because it made it sound like when he left, he didn't come back for a while because he said he had to figure things out. Mm-hmm. And like made it sound like he had no contact with her this entire time.
And that could be. It could have been the Echo thing. Yeah. And then he got shot, and then he was laid up for a while he was recovering from that. And I think they have like done a prosthetic scar. I've heard some, like, I think Ryan Airy pointed that out. Who knows if they haven't really. I feel like there should have been more direct reference to it. He was in Hawkeye and Echo shot him in the face twice. So, and he just stood there and took it, which is badass, but still, like, you're gigantic. Take that shot anywhere else.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. And then Matt finally goes and, like, looks at his collection of helmets, I guess he has accumulated over the years, and starts training again with his Billy Club, which was something I feel like was really missing in the first 3 seasons. When he finally gets the club, and it's kind of like the grappling hook nunchuck version of it, and it's not just sticks. So it's this multi-purpose weapon that has, you can, like, connect them, disconnect them, use them as a grappling hook, kind of, and then I hope not exactly like friggin' Ben Affleck's version, but it can also be like, he can, not exactly like nunchucks, but it's like he can throw it out and then it retracts back to him, like what we see in the very final second of the episode when he's like playing around with it. I love this so much. I want to see that taken to its full extreme. He fought a little bit with it, but not enough. There was a few scenes where it's almost like he kind of can use it like Captain America's shield, where he can like throw one of the batons and bounce it off some stuff and hit somebody, but it won't, and then he catches it again. It's not really exactly like that, except for it's got the wire thing, so he can do it with the wire. So I'm really excited to see like some full-on fight scenes. Also, I do just want to say, I think this is probably a point of contention for a lot of people, that we had a full episode that was like a courtroom drama, and the original show is supposed to be more of just that, and they scaled that way back. I love a courtroom drama, especially in like some of Star Trek The Next Generation's best episodes were the court episodes, where there was a court martial or some sort of litigation process, and Picard had to stand in to be somebody's lawyer or represent them. And I love some of these shows. There were MASH episodes, there were Deep Space Nine. Star Trek loves this. I don't love a lot of modern courtroom dramas because they feel dry and stale. But like when a show that isn't that does an episode that is that, it's like they go at it with a different intensity.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy this, especially when it's already characters you care about from other things. So they did this a bit with The Punisher, and now with White Tiger. Allison knew the White Tiger was going to get killed. She thought he was going to get killed then and there in the courtroom. And I was like, no, man, they got to team up. Like, this is a bigger storyline. And then when he's walking down the street, sometimes I can call it. Sometimes I know where it's going. I didn't see this coming. So when somebody pulled out a gun and just shot him point blank in the head,
I think we're still going to see a White Tiger team up. It's just going to be his niece.
Yeah, there's been, I think, at least two other White Tigers, and that girl who had wanted to come see him was one of the other White Tigers in the comics.
Because I think that iteration is the same White Tiger that they used in the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon.
That's right.
No.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the new Defenders lineup. Part of it who else was on that team?
Nova, Iron Fist, and
I thought it was Iron Fist, yeah.
Teaming up with Spider-Man.
I actually watched a fair amount of that show. It's just been years now.
Yeah.
Not a terrible show. Not great, but...
No, but I think we can end our episode here. We've droned on long enough.
Yeah, watch Daredevil. It's good.
Yeah, we may come back and do a follow-up once the season ends.
I think so, yeah. And then Andor?
Yeah.
Andor.
Yeah, let us know. Votes alive or dead with Foggy in the comments, assuming this is not revealed before this episode goes out. And hey, give us a like and subscribe for celebration of our 2-year anniversary of the podcast.
We deserve it. Also, apparently our Lynch episodes do pretty well. So if there's a certain topic or movie that you would like to see us cover in the future, if you've become a new fan or if you've just stuck with us this long and you really want to see more from that, or you're here because of that, let us know down in the comments what you'd like to see us do next, because we're open to suggestions.
I mean, if you're going to twist our arm and make us watch more movies, I mean, I guess.
Yeah, and plus, I mean, Lynch is something that we both love talking about anyway, so we've already seen like a good chunk of his work, and if there's something else you'd like for us to cover, if you're gonna come back for it, then, like, share, and subscribe, and leave us a comment about that.
Also, follow us on our social media. We're on Facebook and Instagram, even though we maybe don't post as often as we should there.
But we are there.
But we're there. And we'll leave links for that in the description below. And until next time, see ya.